All right, people, welcome. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and having my opinions and doing what I do in real time for, like a few people out here, just like you there, just like me here. So, a legendary singer has recognized another legendary singer. Folks, this is really cool. All right. Steve Perry fans, buckle in. You've got some Steve Perry content on the show today. So, this is what Steve said 18 hours ago, and he highlighted a song right here, Easy to Be Hard. By the way, a song I mentioned yesterday in my tribute to Chuck Negron. He says, when I was a young man dreaming about being a singer, Three Dog Night was a compass for me with many soulful musical directions. Danny Hutton, Chuck Negron, and Corey Wells, along with an amazing funky band, were the soundtrack of my youth. I love, this is another reason to love Steve Perry, because he loves great music. All right? So anyway, he says Chuck left the planet, which, by the way, I get a lot of flack for when I say so-and-so left the planet. Yesterday, February 2nd, 2026, Chuck left the planet. Among many of my favorite songs from the LP Suitable for Framing, which many people cite as their favorite Three Dog Night album, but man, just go back and listen. Their catalog is just fantastic. He says, is a track that Chuck sings called Easy to Be Hard. It's not only an amazing song, but for me, Chuck sings the most definitive version. He says, please listen to this song, for it's more relevant now than ever. Thank you, Chuck, for your voice and your soul. Sincerely, Steve Perry. So when Steve Perry recognizes a singer, that's kind of a big deal, folks. I'm sorry, because Steve could be the best singer of all time. He's in the top 5, I would say, top 3. For some, it's not even a debate. And so he's recognizing a guy who, again, had lots of soul. And that's what Steve was into. And he loved this band. And many of us love this band. And it would have been, okay, one thing that Steve could have done here toward the end is say, can't believe this band isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Seriously. I mean, that would have been putting icing on this cake. But it's awesome that he recognized Chuck, and many people did. I didn't see a whole bunch of rockers reacting stuff on these stupid classic rock websites. They only react when something political happens, and then, rockers react to the new Bruce Springsteen song about what's going on in Minneapolis. That's what they react to. But a great legendary singer, they're kind of like, yeah, I remember Three Dog Night. They had a couple of hits. I think they had like 18 consecutive hits or something. It's crazy. I mean, again, you had bands like Grand Funk Railroad that also stormed the music scene way back. You've got to go way back. But he mentions that they were the soundtrack for him. And that's the way he said a musical compass, right? But really the soundtrack for many people who grew up in this era. And I had a lot of people reach out to me, people who are somewhat older than me. But I remember those days because as a kid, my older siblings were just constantly listening to Three Dog Night, and they were always on the radio. They were the perfect AM radio band with an FM radio sound. They just, their production, the singing, everything about this band, the songs they chose, they had great songwriters, and I guess that's what's keeping them out of the Hall of Fame. And someone said, well, they had a lot of issues in the band and the substance abuse and all that, especially with Chuck. And Chuck got his life back together again, though. And a couple of people said he was a believer. He believed in Jesus. And Jesus is our only hope. At the end of all of this, right, it's our only hope. Steve Perry wrote about this, by the way, on the album Trial by Fire. So see how everything kind of ties together? I mean, we can talk about all this secular music and these lyrics, and this song was a very powerful song, though, because it was really looking at the world and seeing all of the injustice, all of the pain, and trying to grapple with the solution to that pain. And all I can tell you, folks, is the older I get, the more I believe that solution is Jesus Christ. I've believed this for a long time. And I know you're thinking to yourself, oh, he's going to do the religion thing again. I like this channel, except for when he starts talking this way. You know, if he would just stick to music, I could watch this whole video, but I'm just going to get out of it now. Let me click out. Okay, cool, man. I get these messages all the time. It's awesome. It really makes me feel good. Look, folks, it's about Jesus, all right? Chuck knew it. I think Steve Perry knows it too. I think he knows. He doesn't talk about it because, he plays it cool. Uncle Steve doesn't want to offend people. Whereas Jonathan Cain, he'll hit you over the head with a Bible, probably. Um, anyway, folks, a great singer recognizes another great singer. That's what's cool about this. So good job to Uncle Steve, and God bless Chuck Negron, his family, his fans, and this great band, which should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.